They laughed when the alien warrior cub stepped forward. Small claws, burning eyes, honor on the line. She wanted blood. She wanted dominance. She wanted proof that humans were weak. But the human did not reach for a weapon. He reached for a board, black squares, white squares. Silent pieces, waiting. Every warrior believed the same thing. This would end in shame. Or death, yet with every move. The crowd grew quieter, the cub grew uncertain. And the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Because what if strength was never about muscle? What if the most dangerous weapon was the mind? And what if this single game would decide the future of two species? Stay with me, because the next move changes everything. Welcome back to Cosmic Neon Aliens. If you are someone who still remembers a world before smartphones, before the noise, before thinking was replaced by scrolling, then this story is for you. Subscribe like you're shaking hands with an old friend, slow, calm, and meaningful, and tell me in the comments, from where in the world are you watching this story unfold? Asterisk. In the outer edge of the Orion Reach, there was a world ruled by strength. The planet Carter knew only one law. The strong commanded respect. The weak survived only by serving. For centuries, the alien warrior clans of Carter believed this truth without question. Their cities were built like fortresses. Their children were trained to fight before they could fully speak. Honor was earned through combat, scars, and victory. Humans arrived quietly, not as conquerors, not as warriors, but as helpers, traitors, and engineers. To the warriors of Carter, humans were strange creatures. Soft bodies, no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. They spoke calmly, moved slowly, and avoided conflict. That alone made them suspicious. Among the humans was one man named Elias. He was not a soldier. He was not important by warrior standards. He repaired systems, translated data, and observed the alien culture in silence. Elias understood one thing very clearly. On Carter, respect was never given. It had to be proven. The moment came during a public gathering in the Great Stone Arena. Warriors from different clans had gathered to witness trials and challenges. The air was thick with dust, heat, and pride. That was when she stepped forward. The alien warrior cub was young, but feared. Her name was Shirin. She had already defeated opponents twice her age. Her movements were sharp, fast, and full of fire. Shirin pointed her claw directly at the human. "This one stands among warriors," she said loudly. "But he has never proven his worth." The arena fell silent. No human had ever been challenged like this before. To refuse was to admit weakness. To accept meant almost certain death. The clan elders watched closely. This was not just a challenge. It was a test of human presence on their world. Elias stepped forward slowly. He did not raise his voice. He did not show fear. "I accept," he said. A wave of laughter spread across the arena. The idea of a human surviving a warrior challenge seemed impossible. Shirin smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Then you will fight me," she said. Elias shook his head. "I will prove my worth," he replied. "But not with violence." The laughter stopped. Confusion replaced mockery. Warriors looked at each other, unsure if this was an insult. Shirin's tail flicked in anger. "There is no worth without strength," she said. Elias reached into his pack, slowly, carefully. He placed a flat board on the stone floor. It was small, simple, and made of human materials. Black and white squares covered its surface. Small carved pieces rested beside it. "What is this?" Shirin demanded. "This," Elias said calmly, "is a test of strategy." The warriors leaned closer. They had expected a weapon, a trick, or an excuse. Instead, they saw a game. Shirin laughed loudly. "You insult us with a toy," she said. Elias met her gaze. "No," he answered. "I challenge you to think." The words struck deeper than expected. Thinking was not valued on Carter, the way fighting was. Plans were simple. Attack first, overpower fast, win. The elders whispered among themselves. Some wanted the challenge ended. Others sensed something dangerous. Shirin crouched down and studied the board. Her eyes narrowed. "If I win," she said, "you leave this world in shame. And if I win," Elias replied, "humans will no longer be called weak." The arena grew quiet again. This was no longer about a single human. It was about pride, about belief, about the way the galaxy understood. "Strength," Shirin nodded. "So be it," she said. Elias began to explain the rules. Slowly, simply, one piece at a time, one move at a time. The warriors watched with growing unease. They did not yet understand, but something had shifted because, for the first time in Carter history, a battle was about to begin. Without blood, without claws, without weapons, and none of them realized. This quiet challenge would change their world forever. The warriors of Carter expected the challenge to end quickly. They believed the human had delayed his defeat. Nothing more. Stone benches surrounded the arena, filled with armored figures. Claws tapped against metal. Tails moved with impatience. They wanted action. They wanted blood. Instead, they watched. A human kneel on the cold stone floor, calm, steady, almost relaxed. Elias placed the small pieces on the board one by one. Each piece had a simple shape, no sharp edges, no threat. Shirin sat across from him, her posture tense and ready. Her muscles were built for sudden strikes. Her mind was trained for quick wins. "What are the rules?" she demanded. "Speak fast." Elias nodded. He knew her world valued speed. But this game did not. "This piece is the king," he said, pointing. "It must be protected. These pieces defend. These attack." Shirin frowned. "Why not use the strongest one to kill the enemy king?" she asked. Elias answered simply, "Because strength alone is not enough." The words caused small murmurs in the crowd. The warriors did not like that idea. The game began. Shirin moved first. She pushed her pieces forward aggressively, fast, direct, powerful. Elias responded slowly. His moves were quiet, almost boring to watch. No sudden attacks, no dramatic clashes. Some warriors laughed again. "This is not a battle," one said. "It is a waste of time." But as the minutes passed, the laughter faded. Shirin noticed something strange. Every time she attacked, she lost a piece, not in a big fight, not in a glorious clash, but quietly, one by one. She growled softly. Her tail struck the ground. "You are running," she accused. "You fear me." Elias looked at the board, not at her. "I am waiting," he replied. That answer confused her more than anger ever could. Shirin attacked harder. She pushed deeper, sacrificing pieces to reach the human's king. Then it happened. She froze. Her path was blocked. Her strongest piece was trapped. Her king was exposed. The arena went silent. Even the elders leaned forward. They sensed the shift. Elias made one small move, barely noticeable, yet final. Shirin stared at the board. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes widened. "This is not possible," she whispered. Elias spoke calmly. "It is finished." The alien warrior cub, undefeated in combat, had lost. Without a single strike, a deep silence fell across Carter. No cheers, no anger, only confusion. Shirin pulled her hands back. Her claws trembled slightly. She had never lost before. Not in training, not in battle, not in honor trials. "You tricked me," she said quietly. Elias shook his head. "I taught you." That answer cut deeper than defeat. The elders exchanged uneasy looks. This was dangerous knowledge. This was power without force. Shirin stood up slowly. Her pride burned. But so did something new, curiosity. "Again," she said, her voice lower now, controlled. Some warriors protested. Others demanded that human be stopped, but the elders raised their hands. They wanted to see more. The second game began. This time, Shirin moved slower. She watched carefully. She copied the human's patience. Elias noticed the change. A small smile crossed his face. The crowd felt it too. Something was happening. This was no longer entertainment. It was transformation. and far above the arena, a clan elder whispered a single thought. If warriors learn this, the old order will fall. As the pieces moved in silence, one truth became clear. The human had not brought a game to Carter. He had brought a mirror, and the warriors were beginning to see themselves. The arena did not feel the same anymore. The noise was gone, the laughter had vanished. Only the soft sound of pieces moving across the board remained. Shirin sat still, her back straight, her eyes locked on the squares. This time, she did not rush. She did not attack without thinking. Elias noticed it immediately. The warrior cub was learning. "Why do you wait?" Shirin asked, her voice controlled but tense. "In battle, waiting means death." Elias placed a piece down gently. "In battle," he said, "waiting can also mean survival." The second game lasted longer than the first. Much longer. Warriors shifted on their seats. Restless but curious, Shirin copied Elias's moves. She protected her king. She stopped chasing quick victories. For the first time in her life, she thought before acting. A young warrior whispered to another, "She is fighting without moving." Elias heard it. He smiled slightly. "That is strategy," said. "Winning before the fight begins." Shirin lost the second game too, but this time she understood why. She did not slam the board. She did not roar in anger. Instead, she leaned forward, her claws resting near the pieces. "Teach me," she said quietly. The words shocked the arena. A warrior cub asking a human to teach her, not how to fight, but how to think. The elders stiffened. This was not part of tradition. This was not safe. Elias hesitated for a moment. He knew what this meant. Teaching one warrior was a risk. Teaching many would be a revolution. "I can teach you the game," Elias said slowly. "But the lesson is bigger than the board." Shirin nodded. "I want the bigger lesson." Days passed, then weeks. Shirin returned again and again, sometimes at night. Sometimes when the arena was empty. She learned patience. She learned sacrifice. She learned that losing a piece could lead to winning the war. Her movements outside the game began to change too. She trained smarter, not harder. She watched opponents. Instead of charging them, soon she started winning her combat trials. Not by force, but by timing. Other young warriors noticed. "She fights differently," they whispered. "She thinks like the human." Curiosity spread, then interest. A few warriors asked to watch the games. Then a few more. Elias kept the lesson simple. If you rush, you lose. If you protect only yourself, you lose. If you ignore the future, you lose. The elders watched from afar, uneasy, concerned. One elder spoke during a council meeting. "This human weapon is silent. It leaves no wounds, but it changes the mind." Another elder growled. "We can ban weapons. We can control strength. But how do we control thought?" Shirin stood before the elders one evening. Her posture confident, her voice calm. "The human has made us stronger," she said. "Just not in the way we expected." Some elders agreed. Others felt fear, because a warrior who thinks cannot be easily controlled. The breaking point came when Shirin defeated a senior warrior. One known for brutality and speed. She won without injury, without rage, without chaos. She simply waited, moved at the right moment, and ended the fight. The arena erupted, not with cheers, but with stunned silence. Elias stood at the edge, watching. He knew this moment mattered. Shirin walked toward him afterward. Her eyes no longer burned with anger, but with understanding. "This game," she said. "It teaches responsibility." Elias nodded. "Power without thought destroys itself." High above, the elders made a decision. This could not continue unchecked. Orders were whispered, plans were formed, because the clans now understood the truth. The human was no longer proving his worth. He had already done that. Now, he was changing the future of Carter, and the elders feared what would happen if he was allowed to finish the lesson. Asterisk. The council chamber of Carter was built from black stone and old victories. Every wall carried marks from ancient battles. Every elder seated there had earned their place through blood and strength. Now those same elders felt something. Unfamiliar fear, not fear of invasion, not fear of extinction, but fear of change. One elder struck the stone floor with his staff. "This human weakens our warriors," he said. "They hesitate, they question, they think." Another elder answered, quieter but sharper, "He does not weaken them, he reshapes them." That was the true danger. Weapons could be taken away, training could be controlled, but ideas moved freely. Reports filled the chamber, young warriors asking questions, combat becoming less brutal. Victories decided with fewer losses. For the first time, warriors were choosing restraint. Shirin had become the symbol of this change, once wild and aggressive, now focused and calm. She planned her battles like a game. She observed before striking. She retreated when needed. She was winning more than ever. "That cub is becoming a leader," one elder warned. "And leaders who think do not obey blindly." The decision was made. The human would be stopped. The order came quietly. No public accusation, no dramatic arrest. Elias was taken during the night, when the arena was empty, when Shirin was not there to see. He did not resist. He did not shout. He simply asked one question. "Is thinking now a crime?" No one answered. Word spread quickly among the warriors. The human teacher was gone. Shirin felt it immediately. The absence, the silence. She went to the arena and found the board untouched. Pieces exactly where they had been left. Anger rose in her chest, but she did not act on it. She thought. That alone proved how much she had changed. Shirin demanded an audience with the elders. It was rare, almost unheard of, yet they allowed it. Curiosity mixed with caution. "You have taken the human," she said calmly. "He broke no law." One elder leaned forward. "He broke tradition." Shirin met his gaze. Tradition that fears improvement is weakness. A low growl spread through the chamber. Another elder spoke. "You speak human words now." Shirin did not deny it. "I speak truth," the elders debated. Some wanted Elias exiled. Some wanted him executed. Others saw an opportunity. "We will test him." The eldest finally said, "If his knowledge truly strengthens us, he will prove it publicly." A trial was declared, not of blood, but of minds. Elias was brought back into the open. Before the clans, before the warriors, the arena filled once more. But this time the air felt different. Shirin watched from the front row, her expression unreadable. The elder's voice echoed. "This human claims strength does not begin with claws. Let him prove it one final time." A single board was placed at the center. This was no longer a game. It was judgment. Elias looked around slowly. He saw fear in the elders, curiosity in the warriors, hope in Shirin's eyes. "If I fail," he said, "I will leave this world forever." "And if you succeed," the elder replied, "our ways will never be the same." The pieces were set. Every warrior understood the weight of the moment. This was not about winning or losing. It was about whether a society built on strength could survive intelligence. As Elias reached for the first piece, the elders realized something too late. This quiet weapon they feared had already spread, because the warriors were no longer watching to see him fail. They were watching to see what they could become. Asterisk, the arena was full again, but this time the noise was different. No cheers, no insults, only waiting. Warriors from every clan stood shoulder to shoulder. Even those who once mocked the human now watched in silence. At the center of the stone floor sat a single board. Black and white squares shining under the harsh lights. It looked small. Too small to decide the future of a warrior world. Elias stood alone beside it, hands calm, breathing steady, across. From him stood the council elders, old, scarred, powerful. They had won wars. They had crushed enemies. Yet none of that helped them now. The eldest elder spoke, his voice deep and heavy. "This is the final trial. No weapons, no violence. Only your game." Elias nodded. "This is enough," he said. A low murmur spread through the crowd. Shirin stepped forward, her armor polished, her posture controlled. She was no longer the reckless cub who had first challenged the human. "I will face him," she said, her voice clear, confident. Some elders hesitated, others agreed. She was the proof of his influence. If anyone could defeat him now, it would be her. The pieces were placed slowly, carefully. This time, the board felt heavy, as if every square carried history. Shirin moved first, but not with aggression, with purpose. Elias responded, matching her pace. Neither rushed, neither hesitated too long. The arena leaned inward. Warriors who once measured strength by muscle now followed each move with sharp focus. Minutes passed, then more. This was not like the earlier games. Shirin anticipated traps, protected her king, refused easy attacks. She had learned well. Elias noticed it, and for the first time, he felt real challenge. A young warrior whispered, "She fights like him now," another answered. "No, she fights like herself, but smarter." Midway through the game, Shirin made a bold move, sacrificing a powerful piece to gain position. Gasps echoed through the arena. Elias paused, just for a moment. The elders noticed that pause, and felt uneasy. The game continued. Slow, tense. Then Elias did something unexpected. He sacrificed his queen, the most powerful piece on the board, gone in a single move. A shock wave of whispers spread. "He has made a mistake." One elder said, "No one gives up that much power." Shirin's eyes widened. She sensed the trap, but could not yet see it. She pressed forward, trying to finish the game, and then it happened. Elias closed the board. Not with force, but with certainty. Checkmate. The word echoed in the minds of those who understood and confused those who did not. Elias stood, stepping back from the board. "It is over," he said quietly. Shirin stared at the pieces, then slowly she stood as well. She bowed her head, not in defeat, but in respect. "I lost," she said, "and I learned." Silence followed, deep and heavy. The elders felt it. This was no longer something they could erase. The eldest elder rose, his voice strained. "You have proven your worth." Elias did not smile, he simply nodded. "But understand this." The elder continued, "Our world will never return to what it was." Elias met his gaze. "That is the point." The crowd erupted, not in rage, but in thought. Warriors looked at their hands, at their weapons, then back at the board. Shirin stepped beside Elias, her voice steady. "Strength without thought is wasted," she said, "and thought without courage is useless." The elders could no longer deny it. The trial was over, but the real battle had just begun. Because Carter now faced a future where warriors would think, leaders would plan, and power would no longer belong only to the strongest. And deep within the council chamber, the elders wondered one final thing. If this small board could change a warrior cub, what would it do to the entire galaxy? The days after the trial felt strange on Carter. The arena was still there. The weapons were still sharp. The warriors were still strong. That something invisible had changed. Warriors no longer rushed into training with blind fury. They paused, they watched, they planned. Shirin felt the change inside herself most of all. She still trained her body every day. Her claws were still fast, her strikes still deadly, but now, every movement had a reason. She kept the board with her, not as a symbol of defeat, but as a reminder. Before each combat trial, she studied positions, angles, outcomes, and when the fight began, she already knew how it would end. Her victories became clean, precise, almost effortless. Other warriors noticed. They approached her carefully at first, with pride still strong, but curiosity stronger. "How do you always know," one asked, "when to strike?" Shirin answered simply, "I decide before the fight begins." That answer spread faster than any rumor. Soon, warriors asked Elias for lessons. Not loudly, not proudly, but quietly. Elias agreed, on one condition. "This is not about winning games," he said. "It is about understanding consequences." So the lessons began. Small groups at first. Simple rules, simple words. Protect what matters. Think ahead. Sacrifice when needed. The warriors struggled. Their instincts pushed them to attack, to dominate, but slowly they adapted. The elders watched closely, expecting chaos, expecting rebellion. Instead, they saw discipline. Training injuries dropped, combat efficiency increased. Young warriors survived battles that once would have killed them. The numbers did not lie. Sharin was called before the council again. This time not as a problem, but as an example. "You are becoming more than a warrior," one elder said. "You are becoming a leader." Sharin did not bow, she stood straight. "A leader protects the future," she replied, "not just the present." Those words echoed through the chamber. Elias watched from the side, quiet, observing. He knew this moment was important. The clans were at a crossroads. One path led back to old habits, endless fighting, endless loss. The other led forward into uncertainty, into growth. The youngest elder spoke up. "What happens when our enemies learn this game?" Elias answered calmly. "Then wars become shorter and fewer lives are wasted." That answer unsettled many, because victory without destruction felt wrong to them. Unnatural. But Sharin stepped forward, her voice steady. "True strength," she said, "is choosing not to destroy when you can." Silence followed. The council voted. Not all agreed, but enough did. Chess, strategy, human thinking would become part of warrior training, not replacing combat, but guiding it. That night, Sharin sat across from Elias at the board, not as a student, not as a challenger, but as an equal. "You changed us," she said. Elias shook his head. "No," he replied. "You chose to change." Sharin considered that, in the distance, knew. Recruits trained, their movements slower, smarter. Carter was evolving. Other clans across the system began to hear rumors of warriors who fought less but won more, of battles decided before the first strike. Messages arrived, requests, questions. They all asked the same thing. "What is this human game?" Elias looked at the stars one evening, a quiet smile on his face. Humans had never ruled the galaxy with force. They had survived by thinking, by adapting. Now, others were learning the same lesson. Sharin stood beside him, her gaze strong, focused. "I was born to fight," she said, "but I learned to lead." Elias nodded, and far beyond Carter, the galaxy began to shift, not with explosions, not with invasion fleets, but with a board, simple pieces, and the courage to think. Asterisk, the change did not arrive with fleets or fire. It arrived slowly, almost politely. Across Carter, warrior halls added new rooms, not armories, but thinking chambers. Boards were placed on stone tables, simple, quiet, waiting. At first, only a few warriors used them, mostly the young, mostly the curious. Then victories began to change. Battles ended faster, losses dropped, enemies retreated in confusion. The clans noticed. Sharin rose quickly, not because she was the strongest, but because she was always prepared. She studied before every conflict, mapped terrain like a board, moved forces like pieces. Her enemies called her unfair, because she never fought the battle they expected. She won before they understood they were losing. When she became a commander, she placed a chessboard beside her command table, not as decoration, but as a reminder. Every decision had consequences. Elias remained in the background. As humans often did, he refused titles, refused authority. He taught, then stepped aside. Other clans sent envoys, proud warriors with sharp armor and sharper eyes. They asked the same question: how do humans win without strength? Elias always answered the same way: we choose when to fight. The game spread, not just chess, but human thinking. Planning, long vision, understanding loss. Wars changed across the system. They became shorter, smaller, less wasteful. Some elders resisted, clung to old glory. They failed first. Those who refused to think were defeated, not destroyed, but outplayed. Slowly, quietly, humans became something new in the galaxy. Not rulers, not conquerors, advisors, strategists, architects of outcomes. Alien leaders began requesting human councils, not for weapons, but for plans. Shirin stood before a gathering of clans years later, older now, stronger, calmer. She spoke without raising her voice. "We once believed strength was the ability to crush," she said. "Now we know it is the ability to choose." She placed a small board on the central table. "This," she continued, "is where our future changed." The room was silent. Elias watched from the back. A human among giants. No one laughed anymore. In time, historians would argue, was it the game or the humans themselves? The truth was simpler. Humans had always survived by thinking ahead, by turning weakness into advantage. They did not need claws. They did not need armor. They needed patience and courage. On Carter, children now learned two lessons: how to fight and how to think. And when they asked why, the answer was always the same: because the mind decides the battle before the body moves. Far across the stars, a human saying began to spread, translated into 1,000 languages. The strongest species is not the one that hits hardest, but the one that adapts fastest. Elias left Cairo quietly as he had arrived. Shirin watched his ship disappear into the stars, then returned to her command hall. She sat at the board, moved a single piece and smiled, because humanity had never conquered the galaxy. They had done something far more dangerous. They had taught it how to think.